Let's just give a warm welcome to James O'D.
Good morning. I'm so conscious that the world is watching us, literally. So just allow your consciousness to be in that place too. And I would like to begin also with just a little of my own journey and the convening, if you like, or the conjunction of knowledge and experience, and how each of our lives, each one of our lives, is a fractal of the whole. In my case, the eve, the night before my sister died at age 11, falling down the steps of school and breaking her spine, I was conceived. And so my mother experienced this beginning of birth and loss, and I, in her womb, felt her suffering, felt her trauma. I can almost reimagine trying to crawl up into her heart to give some relief to the pain of a mother who loses an 11-year-old daughter. And for me, that universe was saying right at the beginning, your life will be about the conjunction of suffering and celebration. Because in her great wisdom, my mother, when I was born, said, okay, it's time to end the mourning. It's time to celebrate the new life. I am in a place where I say, I witness this pain and suffering of humanity. I will not look away from it in any form. I will not deny it. But I am one who knows that that is not the end of the story. There is another chapter for humanity. When I was an adolescent, I was carrying some of that charge of a loaded life, and I started organizing young people to work in London, and we moved from Ireland to England, to help senior citizens and the plight of senior citizens in London. And I got an award as Teenager of the Year, and a lot of publicity. I was an angry young man. And I got a letter from the head of the Social Welfare Authority in London saying, it seems as if you have a strong critique of the social welfare services, and I would so appreciate a visit so that we could discuss this. And I wrote back and I said, you know what you have to do, and when you do it, we can meet. And that kind of behavior is adolescent. It's allowable in adolescence to refuse dialogue. It's allowable in adolescence to not want to lose your power to the greater power. But that's adolescent behavior. Our politicians should know better. If we're to build a peaceful culture of peace in our societies, we have to have dialogue. We have to have responsible dialogue. We have to engage even when we feel threatened by it. So permissible for adolescents, but too many adolescents in politics these days. And at some point the universe comes along and gives us a little prod. It says, okay, how deep is your commitment? How seriously are you going to live your life? In my case, the prod was actually a knife. I was knifed in back streets of Turkey and left bleeding. And a mysterious person, angel of the night, came and picked me up and dropped me on the steps of the public hospital and drove away. I say thank you to you, mysterious angel of the night. But actually, what was in that story for me is part of what I call the initiations of peace building, is that testing. Mahmoud Abdal simply says your heart must face its tests until some sweets turn bitter in the end. That heart will not answer yes. And out of that knifing incident in Turkey, a huge yes arrived in my life, a huge power convened. We don't talk about power enough in the peace movement, because we're so afraid of the abuse of power and the wrongful use of power. But we hold the power of peace, and in the heart of the power of peace is commitment. It's that prodding, it's that testing of the universe that says, are you ready to go? Are you ready to be courageous enough to live your full commitment? Those of us who are knocked down, who are tortured because of our beliefs, because of our conscience, are the way showers of the light showers. Look at the light of the world. I ask you to do that. Don't turn away from the pain. The great mystery that the heart can be broken, the heart can be shattered, and yet it's a phoenix if it's allowed to go through its process. And what we see at this point on planet Earth is the shattering of the earth heart. Don't let us pretend otherwise. The shattering of the earth heart in so many ways. But out of that shattering, we are here. We are here as the peacemakers, indomitable in our spiritual task of igniting a global culture of peace. After Amnesty International, I began to explore not who was right and who was wrong, but who was wounded and hurt, and how did they get so wounded that they would do these things? You see, when you shift your lens, it's just a small shift in some ways, but it's a huge shift in what it means for the planet when you say, the game is over in terms of who is right and wrong. That's the adolescent sandbox of our development. Who's right, who's wrong? Who's hurt? How did you get so hurt that you would do the things that you have done? How did we as a species get so wounded that we would destroy our own habitat? Where does this hurt and wounding begin? And there's so much that we're learning about the process of that. We've learned that people tend to attach to the wound. It becomes their identity. What a savage mistake that is, that to be hurt and wounded, and yet then for that to become your identity. Because that wound needs to be released, and when it does, tremendous growth is possible. But the wound is passed down by cultures and societies, isn't it? You know, here, this is what they did to us. Remember that. Always hold that. Hold on to that. That's what they did to us. And we're now at this point in our own subtle and psychological development as a species to say, we can release, we can let go. As Desmond Tutu says, no future without forgiveness. And what we see in this new roadmap for peace is this convening of the new science of the mind-body health movement, the convening of psychology and the depth world of psychology and what it can bring to healing, the convening of the skills of conflict resolution, nonviolent communication, mediation, negotiation, the convening of all of these bodies of knowledge, and they all point at peace. What a crime it is that we hold the power of the universe and trap it and imprison it in our own mind-body system. And it's saying to you, come forth, my beloveds, come forth. You are all worthy. You are all in the divinely ordained place to be who you are supposed to be. That's a dynamic invitation from peace to say, step into your courage. No wonder Gandhi said it would be easier to give a sight to a blind person than to teach nonviolence to a coward. I am so in awe of the so-called average human being. Wow, did they ever get that wrong? Because it's the so-called average human being that in the Shahak family, when their 15-year-old daughter is blown up in a terrorist bomb and they see in her diary, I dream of peace with the Palestinians, even though they themselves were conservative people at the time, they shifted and reached out to the Palestinian people and said to families who had lost children, if you're in as much pain as we're in, let's change the story. Wow. So-called average people. I know several of them with bullets in various parts of their body. And I like to often mention my friend Frances in Northern Ireland. She was shot. She is one of those people who carries a bullet in her body. She was shot on her way to work one day. And she lost so much blood on the way to hospital. And when she was waking up, the doctor was saying to her family, we're trying to make her as comfortable as possible in this situation. Because she's got a bullet lodged next to her aorta. We can't take it out or we'd kill her in the process. And then some weeks later, the doctor comes to her and says, Frances, you're going to have to get on with your life. What? With a bullet next to my heart? Yes. And not only does Frances get on with the rest of her life, but she works at a place called The Junction that brings together Protestants and Catholics. She works for reconciliation and peace. She had the ultimate victim card. What have you got? I got a bullet next to my heart. Try doing better than that. So, I say to you, the bullet is in. The bullet is in our heart. The bullet is in Mother Earth's heart. The bullet is in so many ways. When you look with those eyes that I asked you to look at the pain, at the trauma, at the tragedy that faces humanity. But we know, even with the bullet in, that's not the end of the story. That's where the peace movement can really say, out of the trauma, out of the ashes of these experiences, we will incarnate peace in a planetary culture of peace on Earth. Thank you so much.
Big round for James. Thank you so much for blazing the trail forward for us, James.